In the delivery room, my wife turned to me smirking. Relax, he'll still call you dad. The baby was white, but I'm not. The room smelled of antiseptic and warm cotton, the kind of sterile air that made everything feel distant, as though the world outside no longer existed. Machines beeped softly in rhythm. Nurses moved quickly with quiet voices, and I stood at the side of the bed, my hand gripping Allison's tightly. Sweat was rolling down her forehead, her teeth clenched, and her body trembled with exhaustion. For hours I had whispered encouragement, tried to steady her breathing, told her we were almost there. I had imagined this moment countless times. The doctor announcing our child's arrival, the first cry filling the room, the flood of relief as I held a small life that was half her and half me. I'd thought it would be joy, nerves, maybe tears. But nothing had prepared me for what actually came. When the baby was lifted into the harsh light, swaddled quickly, and placed on Allison's chest, I felt my breath stop. He was pale. Pale in a way that couldn't be explained away by the hospital lights or a newborn's fragile skin. Pale in a way that no child of mine could ever be. My family was black, my father's roots from Alabama, my mother's from Jamaica. Generations of brown skin, dark eyes, coarse hair. And here, in front of me, was a child with light hair, skin almost translucent, features that screamed of another bloodline entirely. I stared in disbelief, waiting for some hidden detail to explain it, perhaps a strange shadow, a trick of exhaustion, the haze of the moment. But then Allison's eyes met mine. She was still panting, but instead of the softness I expected, instead of the teary gratitude of a new mother, her mouth curved into a smirk. And then she said it. Relax, she whispered hoarsely, just loud enough for me to hear. He'll still call you dad. The words sliced through me sharper than any scalpel in that room. My ears rang. I felt the blood drain from my face, leaving me cold, hollow. Nurses bustled around, adjusting 4 lines, wiping sweat from Allison's forehead, congratulating us both. I heard them clapping lightly, one of them saying, "Beautiful boy." But all I could see was that smirk. All I could hear was her voice, calm and almost mocking. Something inside me snapped. Who is he? The words came out raw, harsher than I intended. Heads turned. The nurses froze, one holding a clipboard midair. Allison blinked as though surprised by my outburst, but the smirk never fully left. Darius, one nurse began gently. Let's give her a moment. She just... No. I cut her off, my voice shaking. I want an answer. Who's the father of this child? Because it sure as hell isn't me. Gasps rippled through the room. Allison's mother, who had been hovering by the door, rushed forward with wide eyes. What on earth are you saying? Have you lost your mind? That's your son. I pointed at the baby, my hand trembling with rage. Look at him. Does he look like me? Look at his skin, his hair. Tell me I'm wrong. The room was chaos now. Nurses exchanged uneasy glances. The doctor tried to maintain calm. Allison's mother raised her voice, and Allison herself just leaned back against the pillow, eyes heavy, lips pressed tight as though holding back laughter. You're humiliating yourself, her mother hissed. Right here, after everything she's just gone through. Shame on you. But shame was the last thing I felt. I felt betrayal curling through every vein, a heat rising in my chest that made my vision blur. Don't you dare talk to me about shame. I snapped at her, then turned back to Allison. Tell me right now, who is he? For the first time, Allison finally spoke clearly. Her voice was soft, hoarse, but every syllable deliberate. This isn't the place, Darius. That only made the fury build higher. You brought me here. You put me through months of preparation. You let me believe this was my child. You smirk at me while holding him, and you want me to stay quiet? No, not anymore. Her mother tried to block me, tried to shield her daughter, but I shoved her hand away. The nurses moved uneasily, whispering to one another, unsure if they should intervene. Allison closed her eyes for a long moment, then opened them again with a sharpness I had never seen before. You already know, she said, and that was all. The silence that followed was louder than any scream. The weight of those words pressed into my chest until I could barely breathe. She wasn't denying it. She wasn't even apologizing. She was daring me to accept it. I staggered back, my hands shaking, every nerve in my body screaming to leave. I felt like I was drowning in a room full of people who wanted me to play along with a lie so obvious it burned. The doctor cleared his throat awkwardly, murmured something about needing to check vitals. Allison's father, who had been silent until now, stepped into the room, his face pale with confusion. Darius, calm down. We can talk later, just step outside. But I couldn't. I couldn't stay another second in that suffocating room, with that smirk still burned into my vision. I'm not the father, I said, loud enough that every person in the room heard it. And I won't pretend to be. Allison's mother gasped in horror, clutching her chest. The doctor frowned, shaking his head. Allison just turned away, her arms tightening around the baby as though claiming him fully now that I had rejected the role she tried to force on me. I stormed toward the door, ripping off the sterile gown they had made me wear, tossing it aside as it crumpled against the wall. The corridor outside smelled like disinfectant and fresh paint, but it felt like oxygen after being trapped in a burning room. I heard voices calling after me, footsteps, but I didn't turn back. I walked out of that ward, past the reception desk, through the automatic doors, and into the cold night air. The city outside was alive with noise, car horns, people laughing in the distance, the hum of traffic. But it all sounded hollow to me. My hands shook uncontrollably, my chest heavy, my mind a storm. I had come expecting to meet my son. Instead, I had met betrayal in its purest form. The next hours blurred together. I sat in the hospital parking lot, headlights of passing cars flickering over me. My phone buzzed constantly, calls from Allison's parents, texts from friends who had heard I'd become a father, even a message from my own mother asking if everything was okay. But I couldn't answer any of them. I replayed her words in my head, over and over. Relax, he'll still call you dad. She hadn't panicked. She hadn't begged me to stay calm, hadn't tried to convince me the baby was mine. She had smirked. She had mocked me with it, as though this had all been a game, as though my role in her life had been nothing more than a safety net. The anger surged and ebbed in waves. Sometimes I wanted to go back up there, rip the baby from her arms, demand the truth in front of everyone until she broke down and confessed. Other times I wanted to drive away and never look back, leave her to deal with the mess she had created. But one thing became painfully clear. Life as I knew it had ended in that delivery room. The woman I thought I knew, the child I had been waiting for, the family I believed we were building, none of it was real. It had been an illusion, carefully maintained until reality arrived swaddled in a blanket and exposed everything. By the time the first light of morning began to seep into the sky, I was still sitting in the car, hollow-eyed, exhausted, and shaking. The hospital loomed in the distance like a fortress, holding inside it the truth I had just discovered. My phone buzzed again, Allison's name flashing on the screen this time. I almost answered, almost gave her the satisfaction of hearing my voice broken and raw. But I stopped myself. She had chosen her words deliberately. She had smirked while saying them. That wasn't panic. That wasn't guilt. That was confidence. Confidence that I would accept it, play along, raise the child, pretend it didn't matter. But she was wrong. I started the engine, the roar breaking the silence around me, and pulled out of the parking lot. I didn't know where I was going yet, but I knew one thing for certain. I would never be the same again. The house felt foreign the moment I stepped back inside. Our framed wedding photo still hung on the hallway wall, grinning faces frozen in time, mocking me with a happiness I now knew was built on lies. The nursery we had painted together sat at the end of the hall, pale green walls decorated with stars and moons, a crib waiting to be filled. I had once stood there with a hand on Allison's stomach, whispering promises about bedtime stories and future dreams. Now the sight of it curdled something inside me. When Allison came home from the hospital 2 days later, she carried the baby with her like a shield. Her mother followed, arms full of bags, scolding me under her breath for not helping more. I didn't care. My eyes never left Allison. Her hair was messy, her skin pale from exhaustion, but she moved with a strange confidence, as though daring me to challenge her again. She sat on the couch, adjusted the baby against her chest, and finally looked at me. We need to talk. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed, every muscle in my body tight. Good. Start talking. Her voice was calm, too calm, the kind of practice tone someone uses when they've already rehearsed the lines in their head. I made a mistake. It happened once. It shouldn't have happened, but it did. I found out I was pregnant, and I knew what that meant. But listen, you've been here with me through everything. You love me. You can still love him. He can still be ours. Our. The word snapped out of me before I could stop it. You look me in the eye, holding another man's child, and think you can sell me on this ours fantasy? She tightened her arms around the baby, her lips pressing into a thin line. What's the alternative? You leave me? You abandon a newborn? Everyone will see you as a coward. My family will never forgive you. People will spit on your name. But if you stay, no one has to know. You'll be the hero, the man who stood by his wife. The sheer coldness in her words chilled me. There was no apology in her eyes, no regret. Just calculation. You planned this, I said slowly, realization dawning. That smirk in the hospital wasn't shame. You already knew. You've been waiting to trap me into this. She didn't deny it. She just shifted the baby, rocking him gently, eyes narrowing as if to say, and what can you do about it? That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake on the far edge of the bed, staring at the ceiling while Allison snored softly with the baby in the bassinet beside her. Every creak of the house, Every sigh of wind against the windows made my mind spiral further. I thought of the vows we'd made, the years we'd shared, the trust one had given her without question. And now all of it had been reduced to this. Me, lying next to a woman who had betrayed me with a smirk on her lips. The next morning, I decided I needed answers. Not whispered excuses. Not manipulative speeches. I needed the truth. I remembered the name that had come up a few times during her pregnancy. Colin. A co-worker. She had mentioned him casually, said he was helping her on projects, sometimes stayed late with her at the office. At the time, I hadn't thought much of it. Now the puzzle pieces began to form an ugly picture. I found his number easily enough, saved in our home phone records. My hands shook as I dialed, my chest pounding with each ring. Hello. The voice was groggy, male, unfamiliar, yet now permanently linked to the betrayal burning through me. Is this Colin Hayes? Yeah. Who's this? This is Darius, Allison's husband. There was a pause, the kind of silence that stretches too long to be innocent. Oh, I forced myself to stay steady. You know why I'm calling. Another pause, heavier this time. Then, she told me you two weren't together anymore. The words made my stomach clench. Not together? We're married. We live in the same house. She carried my groceries last week and kissed me goodnight. And you're telling me she said we weren't together? She said it was complicated. She said you were. Look, I didn't know she was pregnant. If I had known, I never. His voice trailed off, strained with disbelief. You didn't know? I swear I didn't. She never told me. She said it was over, that you'd moved on. I thought she was divorced. The anger surged, but beneath it, a strange clarity formed. Allison hadn't just lied to me. She had lied to him too. This wasn't a story of passion or love between them. This was manipulation, pure and calculated. She had taken what she wanted, played both sides, and assumed she could control the outcome. I'm not playing her game, I said finally. But you need to know, that baby she's holding? It's yours. Colin's sharp intake of breath echoed through the phone. What? She gave birth 2 days ago? And it's not mine. The silence that followed was deafening. Then a choked curse. Then the line went dead. When I came downstairs later, Allison was sitting in the kitchen with her mother. Their voices stopped the moment I entered. The baby was sleeping in a carrier beside them. Her mother's glare could have burned holes through me. You called him. I didn't answer. You're tearing this family apart, she hissed. What kind of man tries to humiliate his wife after childbirth? Do you want to ruin her reputation? Destroy your marriage? Destroy your child's future? That's not my child, I said coldly. And you know it. Allison's lips curled into a faint smile, as though my defiance amused her. She reached out and brushed her hand across the baby's cheek. He'll still call you Dad, she repeated, softer this time, like a threat. My fists clenched at my sides. Not if I have anything to say about it. That evening, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Colin standing there, face pale, eyes bloodshot. He looked like a man whose entire world had been pulled out from under him. Is it true? He asked, his voice low, trembling. Allison appeared behind me in the hallway, holding the baby now. When she saw him, her face tightened, but she quickly masked it with a smile. Colin, you shouldn't be here. He ignored her. His eyes locked on the child, and I saw something flicker across his face. Recognition, shock, grief, all tangled together. That's my son, he whispered. Allison's grip on the baby tightened. Don't be ridiculous. You have no proof. I don't need proof, he said, his voice breaking. I see him. He looks just like. He stopped himself, shaking his head. How could you lie to me like this? How could you lie to him? He gestured at me. Allison's composure faltered, just for a second. But then she straightened, her chin lifting defiantly. Because you both needed to be managed. He wouldn't understand. And you weren't enough. Darius provides stability. You don't. I made the best choice for everyone. Her words hung in the air like poison. Colin's jaw tightened. He looked at me, his eyes filled with something between pity and fury. I'm not letting her get away with this. Before I could answer, Allison's mother stormed into the hall, her face flushed red. Enough, she shouted. Both of you, get out of my house. It's my house, I said sharply. But Allison's smirk returned. Not for long, she murmured. The implication hit me like a blow. She was already preparing to destroy me legally, to use the baby as leverage, to paint me as the villain who abandoned his family. Colin glared at her one last time, then turned and left without another word. The door slammed behind him, the echo reverberating through the house like a gunshot. I stood frozen, staring at Allison. She looked back with that same faint smile, as though confident she still held all the cards. But for the first time, I saw something else in her eyes. Fear. That night, lying awake again while Allison slept soundly beside the baby, I realized something crucial. She had underestimated me. She thought I would crumble under shame. that I would surrender to her narrative, that I would play the role of the fool raising another man's child. But she was wrong, and soon she would see just how wrong. The invitation to dinner came 3 days later. Allison's parents insisted it would be good for everyone, that we could sit down like adults and put this nonsense behind us. I knew what they meant. They wanted me to swallow the lie, sign the birth certificate, and let their daughter save face. But I wasn't going there to play along. I walked into their house carrying a folder under my arm. Inside were phone records, copies of texts I'd pulled from Allison's old laptop, and a printout of hospital visitor logs showing Colin's name. I hadn't been hunting for this. The truth had fallen into my lap because she had been careless. And tonight, I was going to use it. The dining room smelled of roast chicken and garlic bread, the table neatly set with candles flickering in the center. Allison sat at one end, the baby in a bassinet beside her, her mother fussing with napkins. Her father gave me a stiff nod when I entered, his lips pressed into a grim line. "We're glad you came," he said. I sat opposite Allison, locking eyes with her. She smiled faintly, like she had already won. "This is our chance to talk calmly," she said, her voice smooth. "No shouting, no accusations. Just family. Family." I repeated, my voice sharp. Funny word to use. Her father cleared his throat. "Let's eat first." I waited until plates were filled, until forks clinked against china. Then I reached into my folder and laid the stack of papers on the table. "Before we pretend everything is normal, I think we should look at reality." Her mother frowned. "What is this?" "Proof," I said simply. I slid the visitor log across the table. Colin Hay signed into the hospital 3 days before the delivery. Why? Because Allison invited him. Because he's the father. The silence that followed was suffocating. Allison's mother's face drained of color, her father froze mid-bite, and Allison herself just leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "You're embarrassing yourself again," she said. I slammed the table hard enough to rattle the glasses. "Stop lying. Everyone can see it. The baby isn't mine. I'm not raising another man's child while you laugh in my face." Her father's fork clattered onto his plate. "Is this true?" he asked, voice trembling. Allison's smile flickered, but she kept her composure. "It doesn't matter whose child it is. What matters is who raises him. And Darius knows damn well he's the best option. Stability, money, a name people respect. Colin could never give him that." Her words sliced through the room like a blade. She wasn't even denying it anymore. She was making her case like a lawyer, as if her betrayal was irrelevant, as if the only question was whether I would accept being the fool. That's when the doorbell rang. Allison's mother jumped up to answer it, muttering something about terrible timing. A moment later, voices echoed in the hall, and then Colin walked into the dining room. His face was drawn, eyes shadowed with sleeplessness, but his presence filled the space like a storm. "Sorry to crash dinner," he said flatly, "but I'm not letting this farce continue." Allison's smile finally cracked. "Colin, you shouldn't." "No," he snapped, cutting her off. He turned to her parents. "I'm the father of that child. Not Darius. Me. She lied to both of us, and you deserve to know." Her mother gasped, clutching her chest. Her father pushed his chair back, staring at Allison with open horror. "You told me he was divorced," Colin continued, his voice shaking with fury. "You told me there was no husband. You told me I had nothing to worry about. And now I find out I've been nothing but your side project while you try to trap him." He pointed at me. "You try to play us both." Allison rose from her chair, her composure unraveling. "Stop it. This isn't helping anyone. You'll ruin everything if you keep talking." "Good," I said, my voice steady. "It's time the truth ruined you." Her father slammed his fist on the table. "Is this true, Allison? Did you lie to all of us?" She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Her silence was louder than any confession. Colin's face twisted with disgust. "I don't care what lies you spin. That's my son, and I'll fight for him." The room dissolved into shouting. Her mother wept. Her father demanded answers. Colin argued, and Allison tried desperately to regain control, insisting I was being dramatic, that Colin was unstable, that none of this mattered. But every word she spoke only dug the hole deeper. Finally, I stood, towering over the chaos. "Enough. You all heard it. You saw her dodge the truth. You heard Colin. I won't be trapped in this lie any longer." Allison spun toward me, her face pale, but her eyes burning. "If you walk away now, I'll destroy you. I'll tell everyone you abandoned your wife and child. I'll drag your name through the mud. You'll lose everything." For a moment, the threat hung between us, heavy, almost believable. But then I laughed, a hollow, bitter sound. "Do it. You'll be exposing yourself in the process. The world will see you for what you are. Go ahead, Allison. Burn it all down. I dare you." Her father's voice cut through the tension, low and filled with venom. "Get out," he said to her. Take your lies and get out of my house. Her mother gasped. You can't mean that. I do, he said firmly. I raised you better than this. And you spit in all our faces. For the first time, I saw fear flicker across Allison's face. Colin turned to me, his jaw set. This isn't over. I'll be contacting a lawyer. He deserves to know his real father. Do what you have to, I said. We both knew this was just the beginning. That night, when I returned home, Allison trailed behind me like a shadow. The baby slept in the carrier, unaware of the storm tearing through the lives around him. She shut the door behind her and leaned against it, eyes wild. You think you've won? She hissed. You think Colin will save you? He's weak. He won't fight for custody. He can barely manage his own life. And as for you, you'll never escape me. As long as my child has your last name, you're tied to me forever. I looked at her with a calm I didn't feel. Not if I never signed the papers. Her face went white. For the first time, she seemed to realize she wasn't untouchable, that I had a way out. You wouldn't, she whispered. Watch me. I walked past her, leaving her trembling in the doorway. For the first time since the delivery room, I felt a sliver of control. But deep down, I knew part 4 would be the bloodiest round of all. The next week blurred into a storm of tension, phone calls, and slammed doors. Allison barely spoke to me unless it was to issue threats. She'd pace the kitchen at night, whispering into her phone, making promises I couldn't quite hear. Sometimes she'd stop mid-sentence when she noticed me listening, eyes narrowing before she retreated upstairs. I knew she was plotting. That was her nature. She always believed she could twist people to her will. But this time, she had underestimated both me and Colin. 2 days later, a thick envelope slid under my door. Inside was a petition, Allison demanding I sign the birth certificate, along with an agreement for financial support. If I refused, she threatened to sue, claiming abandonment. The language was sharp, legalistic, dripping with the kind of cold precision only a lawyer could craft. But what struck me most was the timing. The ink wasn't even dry from the delivery, and already she was weaponizing the child as leverage. That night, I sat at the dining table, the petition spread out before me. My chest felt heavy, but my resolve didn't waver. I picked up a pen, scrawled across the top in bold letters, "Not the father," and mailed it back and signed. The next morning, my phone rang. It was Colin. We need to meet, he said. His voice was strained but determined. We met at a cafe near the courthouse. He looked worn down, his hands wrapped tightly around a cup of black coffee. She's trying to play me too, he said without preamble. Called me last night, said if I stay quiet, she'll make sure I get visitation. If I fight her, she'll drag me through the mud. Said I'll look like some homewrecker who abandoned his kid. I leaned back, the bitterness curling through me. That's exactly what she told me, just a different version. She wants me to raise the child for appearances, wants you to disappear. She thinks she can have both stability and a backup plan. But she's about to lose everything. Colin's jaw tightened. I already spoke to a lawyer. He said paternity tests are undeniable. Once it's on record, she can't trap you. And if I push for custody, the court will have to listen. For the first time, I felt the ground shift beneath us, not in Allison's favor, but ours. 2 weeks later, the results came back. The DNA test was conclusive, 0% chance I was the father. Colin's name lit up on the report like a spotlight, erasing any doubt. I sat in the lawyer's office with the document in hand, my heart pounding with something close to relief. This is it, I said softly. The proof. The lawyer nodded. File this with the court immediately. Once it's official, you're free. She can't touch you for support. I imagined Allison's face when she received the notice. The smirk, finally gone. That night, when I returned home, she was waiting. The papers were already on the counter, apparently delivered before I got there. Her face was pale, eyes bloodshot, hair disheveled. She looked nothing like the composed, confident woman from the delivery room. You think this saves you? She hissed. It doesn't. Everyone still believes you're the father. You'll never wash that off. People will whisper. They'll call you weak. You'll carry this shame forever. I stepped closer, my voice calm. The only shame here is yours. And soon, everyone will see it. Her breath hitched, but she covered it with a sneer. You won't survive without me. You've built your life around us. When I take the house, when I take what's mine, you'll crawl back. But even as she spoke, I saw it, the cracks forming in her armor. The fear she couldn't quite hide. The true collapse came at a family gathering 2 nights later. Allison's parents had called everyone together, siblings, cousins, aunts. They wanted answers, and they wanted them publicly. The living room was crowded, voices low and tense as people whispered. Allison sat on the couch with the baby in her arms, her face rigid, her lips pressed tight. I stood near the doorway, arms folded, the DNA results in my pocket. Her father cleared his throat. Allison, is it true? Silence. Her mother tried again, voice trembling. Please, Tell us this isn't true. Tell us Darius is mistaken. That this child. I pulled the papers from my pocket and laid them on the coffee table. Read it. It's official. I'm not the father. Gasps rippled through the room. Allison's sisters exchanged shocked looks. An uncle muttered under his breath. Her mother's face went pale, her father's expression hardened like stone. Allison clutched the baby tighter, shaking her head. This doesn't matter. Blood doesn't matter. What matters is who raises him. Darius. Stop. My voice cut through her plea. You've manipulated me for the last time. You lied to me, to him, to everyone in this room. You thought you could hide behind family and tradition, but it's over. The truth is out. At that moment, the front door opened, and Colin walked in. His lawyer followed, carrying a folder. I'm filing for custody, Colin said, his voice steady. I won't let you use my son as a pawn. The room exploded. Relatives shouted. Allison's mother cried. Allison herself jumped to her feet, screaming at Colin. You can't take him. You're nothing. You'll never be a father the way Darius could have been. Colin's lawyer calmly set the papers on the table. That's for the court to decide. Her father finally stood, his face red with fury. You've disgraced us. Lied to all of us. Do you know how many people we told this was Darius's child? Do you know the humiliation you've brought on this family? Allison's voice cracked, the first time her confidence broke. I did what I had to. None of you understand. She pointed at me. He would have left me if I told him the truth. And Colin isn't strong enough. I had no choice. No choice, her father roared. You had every choice, and you chose lies. The baby stirred in her arms, starting to cry. The sound cut through the shouting, a sharp reminder of the innocent life tangled in this chaos. For the first time, Allison's eyes filled with tears, not of regret, but of desperation. She realized she was losing control, losing everyone. In the weeks that followed, the consequences unfolded like dominoes. The court accepted the DNA results, officially releasing me from any legal responsibility. Allison tried to smear me publicly, posting online about how I had abandoned her and the baby, but the truth was already out. Mutual friends turned on her, disgusted by the manipulation. My own family, though shaken, stood by me. Colin pursued custody aggressively. The court granted him partial rights immediately, with the likelihood of full custody once the case concluded. He moved into a small apartment, baby-proofed every corner, and began preparing for fatherhood. Allison, stripped of her safety nets, found herself cornered. Her parents cut her off financially, ashamed of the scandal. Her job put her on leave after whispers of her personal drama spread through the office. The same arrogance that once gave her power now isolated her completely. One evening, I drove past her apartment. She was sitting on the balcony, hair unkempt, rocking the baby while staring blankly at the street below. For the first time, she looked human, small, broken, defeated. Part of me almost felt pity. Almost. But then I remembered the smirk. The words she had whispered in that delivery room. Relax, he'll still call you dad. That moment defined everything. She had chosen cruelty, chosen arrogance, chosen deceit. And now she was living with the consequences. As for me, I walked away free. Scarred, yes. Distrust lodged deep in my chest. But free. The story didn't end in triumph or in tragedy, but in truth. And sometimes, that's enough.